Welcome to Rants and Reviews, the channel where I showcase gameplay footage, give a short review of the game I'm playing, and launch into impudent rage at issues affecting gaming. The game featured today is Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 with the Yuri's Revenge expansion. It's definitely an older game, but it still holds up very well, aside from the graphics. The story of the game follows a fictional war between the US and Soviet Union. The Yuri's Revenge expansion adds to the story when a psychic advisor to the Soviets creates his own army and former enemies must join forces to stop him. If you can't tell, the story is pretty campy, but in a good way. The gameplay is solid. There are enough strategic options to allow for varying playstyles and a large array of tactics that you can use to dominate the battlefield. The creativity of the game's unit design is really where this game shines. It features very advanced technology which complements the creativity. To give some examples, the US has the Prism tank. It is a light armored tank that uses focused light to create blasts of like a laser that can branch off of its primary target and hit nearby objects. Yuri's faction is all about mind control and genetic experimentation, and his units reflect that. The Psychic Dominator, one of his super weapons, deals massive damage to a targeted area and gives you control of any units in the affected area. I could go on, but suffice to say that this game is a classic. I'm reviewing it even though it's old because there are plenty of strategy game fans that may not even know about it. If you've never played a Command & Conquer game before, this is the one that I would start with. I highly recommend this game. So, how does this game fit into my topic today? Anyone who's played any of the newer CNC games probably knows where this is going. This franchise is one of many to be destroyed, courtesy of our friends at EA. Westwood Studios, the company that created Command & Conquer, was liquidated by EA after one of their games failed to live up to the company's expectations. This is just one example of EA's track record of making decisions that ruin franchises. Do I need to mention what happened with Dungeon Keeper? For those who aren't familiar with the story, EA sat on the rights to Dungeon Keeper for a long time. It was a strategy game where you played an evil master who builds dungeons, manages minions, and the goal of it was to kill the good guys who were trying to come in. It had a pretty large cult following, and everybody was excited to hear about the game's revival on the mobile platform. But what they got was a free-to-play, microtransaction-laden piece of typical mobile shit. There were build times that stretched for days, and literally days, and costed increasing amounts of money to skip, along with other issues. It's also worth mentioning what they did to Dead Space 3, creating a crafting system as a way to seduce people into paying extra money for the resources required to build their weapons. It was either that, or take up a part-time job gathering resources that took time to even appear and were scattered over pretty large distances. And when I say they took time to appear, I mean that you would collect them and there would be a delay before you could even use them. And trust me, this was not a quick process. But thankfully our buddies at EA decided to save us from that grind, and all you had to do was throw money at them. Now we're on the horizon of yet another franchise that has some questionable decisions being made with it. I'm talking about Battlefront 3, which is due to come out this November. I'm not making any solid judgments on it before it gets released, but you can bet I'll be waiting for some reviews before I drop any money on it. It's disturbing how much content was in a game that came out a decade ago and will not be in the game that should revive the series. I should mention that this is supposed to be a revamp of the older game, and they slashed virtually everything that made Battlefront what it is out of this so-called revamped game. Only 4 planets, that, if I remember correctly, no space battles, no galactic conquest mode. The list goes on, but galactic conquest is really what pisses me off the most. It was an awesome, unique single-player mode where you fought in a series of battles for control of all the planets in the galaxy. There was a nice strategic element to it as well, as you had to spend resources based off of how many planets you currently held, and you would use those to build your army and to gain access to more units, and to use or to buy bonuses that would turn the tide of the battle in your favor. For example, you could purchase the Jedi bonus, which would allow you to every so often gain control of a Jedi or just some kind of hero character, depending on what map you were playing on. They were overpowered as hell, but they were really fun to play. And worse yet, all this content that is getting slashed only raises the question, with EA's reputation for doing anything to grab a quick buck, would they cut out beloved features intentionally just to sell them back to us later as DLC? That question will be answered in just a few short months, and I doubt there will be any surprises. It's worth mentioning that while they're chopping out established features of the series, they are not adding anything new to it to make up for what fans are missing out on. From the information they've released so far, it sounds like they're basically making a Battlefield game with a Star Wars theme. I really hope I'm proven wrong about this, as Battlefront is one of my favorite series of all time. I want to like this new one, I really do, but it seems to be that the game is in every way lesser than the ones that came before it. There are plenty of people who have made videos outlining the long list of deficiencies that the game will have, and if you're a fan of the series, I recommend checking it out before you get too excited about this, and definitely don't pre-order it. Trust me, it'll still be available on launch day. Nobody's going to run out of them. So that's the rant today, guys. Leave me a comment below letting me know what you think about the topics I discussed today. Give me a like or dislike. Subscribe if you want. Blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. This has been Ryan on Rants and Reviews, and I'll see you next time.